What's up, everybody? M.V.K here. How's everybody doing out here? Here to give my thoughts on the finale of Book 3. I just finished watching it since I got home from work, so I'm gonna give my thoughts on it. On the two-part, basically there are two parts, but you know what I mean. So basically, like I said, give my thoughts on episode 38 of the series, episode 12 entitled Enter the Void, and episode 39 of the series, episode 13 called Venom of the Red Lotus. Honestly, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, guys, but it just felt really kind of, I wouldn't say anticlimactic, but just really felt really, it just like, this just came and went here, no problem. Don't mind the noise, guys, that's my phone. But, you know, other than that, I did enjoy the episodes. It was interesting indeed to see. One thing I did appreciate was seeing a lot of the characters that I like step up big time, and I'm gonna talk about that. So we saw that basically there was left off with the ultimatum. Basically, Korra gives herself up, and the airbenders go free. We find out that yes, Tenzin didn't die, but he just got badly beat up. That would have been a little bit more impactful if they really killed off Tenzin. I would have really probably would have been like, oh, that's gonna piss Korra off even more. And then but also that can be a downfall for Korra because, you know, what's the whole deal about anger? You know, anger can cloud your judgment, and we saw that in this extended episode as well, because there's a certain scene where Korra, later on I'll explain, but we do see that basically Zaire is like, okay, you give yourself up and we let the airbenders go free. Unfortunately, we all should have known it was a freaking trick. Crooked as snakes as he is. I don't understand how one who is supposed to be so spiritual, and as you all know, being, you know, the airbenders are very much spiritual. They remind me of the Shaolin monks and things like that. But here you got this douche who's not very honorable. You know, kicks a man when he's down, kicks a guy when doesn't fight honorably, and you know, it's just like, how you an airbender? You fight like that? And I scratched my head about that. But they wanted an airbender as a villain. They got one for this series. But it's a trick. It was a trick, and we do see basically the love between he and the tall combustion. I did not know she was that tall. Honestly, guys, I did not know she was an Amazon. She is tall. Zaire had to look up at her, and I'm like, okay, so they're in love, you know? Okay, I had to remember, like, yeah, that's right. That's his girlfriend or so, but. You know, it is what it is. I didn't really care too much about it. I felt like, oh, they're going down anyway, so screw it. But we see that as a trick. The airbender, they're taken to another place, and so it's all a ruse, and it's up to Korra and the gang to fight off their opponents, as well as make sure that Korra doesn't get captured. And the thing is, Korra is captured. She's handcuffed, and it's not just any metal; it's platinum. So I'm like, so metal benders can't bend platinum, huh? Okay, that's interesting. And Korra, all she could use is her feet when she's fighting for her life. Her father gets involved and helps out, and which is interesting. We have Lynn and her sister fighting off the combustion bender, basically, and we also see Bolin and Mako fight off two opponents they've been fighting in this entire series. Unfortunately, it does end badly for them because Korra does get captured. She thinks her father died because it basically knocks him off the mountain. And pretty much the lava bender basically brings down the whole air temple. But it wasn't all a bad side, because even though they got Korra, one of theirs was taken down. And I thought it was really cool. Lynn and her sister basically were pinned down. Pinned down. They couldn't move. And it was kind of interesting to see, because Lynn actually says, I'll distract her while you take her out. And it was a touching scene. No matter what, say what you want, but it was really touching to see Lynn, who's always like this tough as nails. She keeps this wall up, but you see her literally tell her sister, "I love you." Like, almost like, oh shit, like she look like she might kill, like sacrifice herself. She's ready to sacrifice herself, but letting her sister know that I love you. And while Lynn almost literally sacrificed herself, here he comes up behind her, takes she takes her armor off and locks it onto the combustion buster's face. And when she's about to combust, it blows up, and it was like, ooh. But what really is interesting is that Jahir is basically able to fly, which is basically something that an airbender has not been able to do for years, centuries, except for one. And I always felt like, why can't airbenders fly? I always thought that. I was like, why couldn't they fly? I mean, we've seen Aang basically put air pocket bubble underneath him and he roll upon it, but I always felt like, why couldn't they fly? So that was interesting to see. And of course they get away, and which leads us into the next episode, where basically the Red Lotus are going to invoke basically the Avatar state in Korra by poisoning her. And basically, as you know, the Avatar state, it kind of like helps the Avatar in need, especially when it's in dire need for his or her life. And basically they induct poison onto her through her skin. I thought they were going to make her eat it. I thought they were really going to make her eat it, like it was going to go through her nose or her mouth, and they're going to force feed her it, but they went into her skin and her pores, and it souped it up, and she started going to the poison. One thing also, you started to see, she started hallucinating, seeing every villain she's faced in the past, and it was almost like they were telling her, like, you have nothing left, give up, blah, 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 everything like that. And, she's fighting it, but once poison was in her system, they were going to kill them. One thing also, what really shined in before the episode was the fact we find out that Bolin is a lava bender. He's not a metal bender. And that was really cool to find out. Like I said, I like Bolin, and it's always good to see him spotlighted, and they spotlight a little bit on him in terms of showcasing. All it took was something dire to invoke his ability, and his brother's life and Tenzin and Sazami's life were in danger, so he did it, and I thought it was really cool. And in this episode, we got to see that that they basically are in need of Korra being killed, and if it wasn't for Jinora using her spirit levitation, as I call it, where she can go into like a spiritual state and look around, she was able to find him. And we got to see a lot of Jinora really step up big time in this, showcase this. She could be a future leader, and we saw that she was able to get the other airbenders free and it was just really cool. I loved how they showcased that. And when the rest of the gang finally get to the temple, thanks to Kai, he's the one that showed them where it is, where the Red Lotus are. And, you know, basically, Korra is still fighting the poison, but she's able to literally free herself from, because she was chained up from the platinum, and use the strength she had to take the fight to her opposition, which was really cool. And we saw that in that, and you know, she's taken on all three of them with the long, like, she still has the chains around her, and she's using it as a weapon. And unfortunately, basically, Zaire basically he flies out, and Korra takes flight after him, like, and it's almost like a flight battle between them in a sense, while the rest of the gang handle the rest of the prisoners. Once again, it's the two brothers, Mako and Bolin, going after the lava bender and the armless water bender. They, like I said, they have been going at it since they met, and it's really interesting because Bolin, when he was fighting the lava bender again, he's like, "Why are you smiling?" And he's like, "I just remember the last time we fought." And Bolin's like, "Yeah, well, a lot's different." And he's showing him, like, "Look, I can lava bend now." And he's like, "Okay, all right, let's see what you got." And then it's like, yeah, and you got Bolin, like, he's ready to go at it. And I thought that was really cool, like, showcasing. While Mako is fighting the armless waterbender, who I think is a trip, because I like she's armless, but she can still waterbend. And Mako starts to have her on the ropes, while Korra's dealing with, you know, Zaire basically all in the open. And you know, it's literally like he's just flying away from her, and she's just keeping up with him. And then there's times where she literally tackled him, and he threw her, and she fell but landed. And, you know, and I was telling my brother, I was like, you know, it's kind of funny because Avatar world that I really want to see, I always felt that besides them just airbending or using like martial arts stance, as we see that a lot of the bending is based off of, I would really like to see them physically hit somebody. Like, I want to see Korra punch somebody, and like, again, like, I think we've seen her do it, but I can't, my recollection is like, I don't remember her doing it, but I would love to see them get really physical, where it's not always about bending. Like, okay, they can't rely too much on their bending, so let's just rely on our physical attributes and skills and things like that. But we didn't see that too much. It was just mostly flying around, Korra chasing after Zaire. And at one point, she took her chain and cut a whole mountain off and threw it at him, so to speak. I was like, shit. You know, but it was almost like she was in the Avatar state, but she was full of rage. And, you know, once again, still, she may have been in the Avatar state, but rage can consume you, and, you know, anger clouds of judgment, and she's just almost like hacking and slashing at nothing while he just flies around. But later on, you can see, like, it was almost like a ploy, because it was almost like they was doing a rope-a-dope, using that to let the poison really really flow all the way through the Korra system, and you started to see that. Boxing term, if anybody doesn't know what the rope-a-dope is. But we saw that. And we later see Mako basically take the waterman. He literally extinguished all her water around her arms, and he's like, "Give up! You got no more water." And she basically is like, almost like, "Screw you!" And she jumped down into like a ditch, and Mako went after her. And when he went down, he fell into like an underground like stream or lake, or, you know. And I just like, oh shit. I was like, oh, he fell into her. And then you saw turn around, and she had like 6 arms, and she's like, now it's over. And she was just like using it like almost like an octopus, like, shh. And Mako did the one thing that we haven't seen him do in a while. He lightning bent, and she stuck up on, and he shocked her, and it was really cool. and he shocked the water, one of her water arms, and it was really cool. I was like, okay. I was like, that was interesting. While as for, Bolin, he was handling himself pretty well. But, the thing is, he's still new at the lava bending. So, of course, you would expect that even though he can still handle himself, you expect a veteran lava bender would be a little bit better. But, of course, his bro came to his aid, and the brother tag duo helped out. And then he was just like, give up. But Money was like, I'm not going back to prison. So I was like, I'm not going back to the slammer. And he literally buries himself like, I'd rather die than go back. And, they didn't, you assume that's what happened because all the lava and rock fell on top of him while the brothers just watched. But unfortunately, Jinora and the rest of the airbenders used their combined abilities to create like a vacuum cyclone and use it against Jay, because at one point the poison was so much into Korra, basically he was going to do that fatality move again where he sucks the air out of her, that what he did to Earth Queen, and unfortunately Jinora and them basically use it, and he gets trapped into the cyclone and he can't fly away. And unfortunately, later on, Korra, comes back to 2, and she falls. They're, into the eye of the storm, in a sense. And she, almost does, a scorpion move. Get over here, and yanks, and then slams him down. And he hits rock bottom, and literally rock bottom hard. And she almost passes out, but her father comes to, and he tells her, says, Korra, honey, I'm here. And she almost gets a look at him, and she passes out. While he's laughing at first, because later on the sisters of Lin and her sister rock bend him, keep him intact, and he's laughing. He's like, "You're too late. It's over. I won." Typical villain thing. Ha ha! I won, and and unfortunately, Jinora again basically says, tells him what the poison is. It's mercury. You can get it out. And Lin's sister literally flows the poison out of, literally flows it right out of her mouth, and that's it. And pretty much pretty much he's still talking. Then Bolin puts a sock in his mouth, and it's kind of funny. You're gonna get a typical Bolin moment at one point, but it ends the series ends 2 weeks later after that, and we see Korra dressed up, but literally bedridden, almost like she's in a wheelchair because of the poison. You can see she's got she's almost like she's not even really there. Her eyes are I wouldn't say bloodshot, but she's drowsy looking. She took too much Benadryl or something, and she got almost sleep, she's almost in sleep deprivation, and she's just and it's almost and you got Spacey saying, no matter what, if you ever need to talk, I'll be there. And you see that friendship and chemistry really staying true and bondful. I know there's a lot of people say it's like they're a couple. Like I said, I don't care if they came out, if Sasami came out and kissed Korra, I would have been like, okay, kiss scene, okay, that's nice. But they're not gonna pull that. But hey, we don't know. They could pull it now because they're streaming now online. But we see later on the president of Republic City basically saying, let bygones be bygones. You're welcome back in Republic City, blah blah, things like that. And still, I'm like, so what? I'm in my head. I'm like, so what happened to the vines? Did they go away and things like that? But that went, yeah, exactly. That went unresolved. We don't know what happened to the vines. Once again, stop and pull. All these missions that were stopped. And unfortunately, Janora gets dedicated now. She's a master. She gets her tattoos, and I swear to the higher powers or God or whatever, she looks straight up like her grandfather. I'm like, did they do that on purpose? Because she looks just like Aang. It was too funny and too ironic that she looks like her grandfather. We also, that the Tenzin says that the Airbenders are going to be like have a nomadic style again, where they're going to go around the world and help out where they can, no matter what your race or your creed or anything like that is, which is really cool. And the series ends with basic Korra crying. Now, I look at that as if, was that tears of joy or tears of sorrow, because Korra's not telling them something that she may know. That's how I look at it. That's just me. But other than that, that's how the series ends. I will give an overview of this book later on, but as of right now, I like the 2-part finale. There were some things that I was like, still things didn't get resolved, but I really hope, and I'll say this as well once again on my overview, is that I really hope that with book 4, they really take their time. They don't shovel out episode after episode. They don't get released early, because that hurts sometimes. As well as they come off with maybe a cooler villain. I'm hoping they don't say, okay, well, we had a waterbender, we have 2 waterbenders, we had a dark spirit, we had a airbender. Okay, now we need an earthbender as a villain now. No, I would really want them to create a new villain who is something different. Now, I'm not talking a bloodbender or anything like that. Maybe something different that would be added to the Avatar world and be like, whoa, okay, this is different. But like I said, those are just some thoughts. But other than that, guys, I ran my mouth off long enough. I knew I was going to go over the 20-minute mark with this, because I really wanted to talk more about it. But other than that, guys, I didn't hate the finale. I was fine with it. Was it perfect? Was it perfect? No. But I did enjoy it. And you stay tuned, guys. I will see you guys next time. Supposedly, I will be getting together with some other fellow Korra fans, and we're going to talk about the season as a whole later on tonight. But for those who don't know, Mr. J and my friend Mr. J and Comic Uno, we're supposed to get together and chat about Korra. But I will also do my overview here on my main channel as well. And I will see you guys next time, as always. Y'all have a good weekend, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.